Disney needs the Snow White live action adaptation to make a boatload of money, and I'm just not sure that's going to happen given there are tons of screenshots on social media circulating of theaters being completely empty, and now that we have the first audience scores, they are not looking super good. But before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, just a few days ago, when we started getting the critic scores, I was pretty shocked because I thought that they were going to love this. Last week, when we saw the early critic reviews and like the snippets of their reviews, they had seemed pretty positive, but now that they're all here on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not a pretty picture. The all critics is at a 44%, and the top critics is at a measly 28%, and now the audience scores are pretty similar. So verified audience is at a 71, and keep in mind, verified, they have to accept, so they might not accept certain scores. We've always been very critical of this. I've never really gone off of verified audience scores, even if they look super positive or look super negative. I'm just not very trusting of a system that a website can manipulate. But the verified audience score, which is supposed to be people who prove that they had paid for a ticket, give their scores, and that's at a 71. So that's not necessarily that bad. Still not what I'm sure Disney wanted, but the all audience is at a measly 21%, and there are tons of criticisms here, ranging from they don't like the sets and they don't like the costumes to the performances are really bad, and also the modernization. This was always going to be a major problem for this movie because we know that they had kind of pushed out the old content, out with the old, in with the new, right? They have 6 brand new songs within this, and none of them really capture the magic or the essence of what Snow White originally was. We know that Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot are in this, which they are not the two best actresses, that's for sure. I think Gal Gadot is very gorgeous, but she's still not like a 10 out of 10 actress by any means. And then you have Rachel Zegler, who, in my opinion, has never really done anything noteworthy. I guess the best thing that she's been in was the Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but even in that, I didn't really think that she did a spectacular job. Regardless, though, maybe she could have turned it around with this, and she definitely didn't, and audiences clearly agree. So heading on over to the all audience, it is not a good sight for Disney. Again, a movie that they've dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into. We know that they had initially put $250 million into it. Then they did a bunch of reshoots. We know that they have put a lot of money into marketing this. There's been billboards, there's been social media ads everywhere. I mean, it is Disney, right? So you would expect this to have a big budget behind it, but also bring in a very large pool. I just don't see that happening at this point in time. In my opinion, the movie was all right. It was too much singing, not enough storytelling. I'll give it like a 5 out of 10. It seems very generous. I wouldn't recommend this one, but the wife said she got a good nap, so I guess it's worth half a star. Really, really bad. The only magic here is how they made that much money disappear and ending up something that looks like it was made for a TV movie. Disney has never really understood how to apply computer effects like its other studios do. They seem to think more is more, and that definitely isn't the case. It's a shame that they destroyed the essence of the original film in this way, and the actress is too conceited. We've talked a lot about Rachel Zegler over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, and she is a big reason why this failed, but not the only reason, because she did a lot of damage to this film's image, calling the original movie outdated and basically saying that it needed to be updated, saying that, oh, she's not going to fall in love in this, and it's not just going to be about true love, and that the prince was weird, and he was a bit of a stalker, and he was just kind of creepy. Like, none of those things helped, but it also didn't help that they totally threw away what made the original so special and updated basically everything. Like, they could have picked 7 dwarf actors. They did not do that, though. They decided to go for these computer generated monstrosities. That was a very bad move. We know that Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot are 2 very different people in terms of the real world and politics. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I also think that their clear taste for each other did not help the lead up to release, because we saw them at the Oscars and one was marching down the aisle while Gal was just kind of looking at her like, ooh, very unprofessional. Those clips didn't help. And then you have Rachel going on social media and attacking people who were critical of this movie leading up to launch. Like, none of that helped. But I do think that there are multiple elements as to why this movie failed. And even taking a peek at these numbers versus other live actions, it is the worst across the board. The highest in terms of Snow White for the critics is a 44%, and the highest audience is a 71. Look at The Little Mermaid that came out in 2023. The highest score there is a 67, and the highest audience is a 94. I personally didn't like The Little Mermaid either. It was a very new take on The Little Mermaid. The ending was completely different, where you had Ariel actually saving the day instead of Prince Eric, and then proving to King Triton that, oh, I love your daughter and I would do anything for her. I would die for her. That was the whole point of King Triton actually coming to the realization that Eric and the humans were not so bad. But regardless, a new adaptation as well. And even Mulan, which was not a good movie, had an all critic of 71%, and the all audience was a 46% with over 10,000 ratings. Now, there is no verified score here because it was in 2020, so the theaters were closed, but a 46% is still significantly higher than what we're seeing with the all audience of Snow White at 21%. So Disney Snow White at this point in time is the weakest link by far in terms of critic scores and also the all audience score. It will be interesting to see what happens over the next few days. Maybe thousands of people will end up leaving reviews and they'll magically love it and things will go better, but the critic scores are here to stay, and even those are abysmal, so Disney's Snow White is not looking good for Disney. I had high hopes for this movie. Reviving the old classic Snow White with a modern story seemed good, but it turned out to be crap and so bad. I want my money back. Worst movie I've seen in 2025. The plot is generic, and the actress seems like a lazy evil princess more than an energetic good princess. This is a true Disney story for a new generation. Ah, yes, guys, I just love when you take something super beloved and then you modernize it for a new generation when it doesn't even look like the new generation is very interested in seeing this movie at all. Story with lots of plot holes, there's almost no romance, and the little there is doesn't make sense. The abusive CGI sometimes disrupts the immersion. Even kids got bored. Terrible, would not recommend. The movie's portrayal of Snow White's classic story was made very poorly, and there are some people who are rating it positively, saying it was a overall good original movie with great music. And I generally dislike these remakes, but I got pulled into Snow White by the promise of new songs. So as you can see, these are people who are praising it because they like the updated version and not because they have like love or nostalgia, because it seems that most people who have nostalgia just generally hate this adaptation. Also, taking to X, we have a lot of people pointing out the fact that their theaters are selling no tickets of this. 0 tickets sold for Snow White opening. Right in the heart of the city. There's people here. Snow White's completely a plop at this point. Ticket sales are completely empty. Here's a theater with no seats sold. This is currently opening night of Snow White this Thursday in one of Utah's largest theaters. None. One day Disney will learn that remaking the classics into woke garbage doesn't pay. There are quite a few seats sold here, but still not really the numbers you would expect for Disney. And we also know that it opened on Thursday 46% worse than the Marvels. Now, we still have a couple of days over the weekend. We had Thursday, Friday's numbers were okay from what we heard, Saturday, Sunday. So in a couple of days, we'll actually have the full picture here. But so far, it's just not looking super positive for Disney. And a movie that, again, they dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into it. So I will be keeping a close eye on this to see maybe things will turn around. Maybe they'll actually be able to tout it as a smashing success. But the first user reviews are in, and they are not looking good. The all audience is at a awful 21%. The verified is at a 71, which is the highest of the lot, though still not a 9 out of 10 that I'm sure that they were hoping for. We see all of the screenshots online of theaters being completely empty and basically no tickets being sold. We, of course, have it opening 46% worse than the Marvels on Thursday, and none of this looks like a tale as old as time and a tale of success for Disney. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.